What you guys got another video on Windows 10 annoyances and how to fix them. Now we all know that Windows is full of bloat and I'm going to show you how we can sort this out on Windows 10. Now quite a few people have asked me to make this video who use Windows 10. So first off we're going to deal with the adverts in Windows 10. And of course what we're going to do is start off with the start menu. Inside this settings pane, go to start and you'll see there is some settings in here which you need to turn off, which are due to adverts which will be pushed into the start menu. So the first one is show suggestions occasionally in start. That is obviously going to be adverts. So we're going to go back and we're going to move on to the next one, which is to get rid of notifications and full screen prompts. Now inside settings here, go to system. So inside here, go to notifications and actions, and inside here you will see some notifications like these ones on the bottom here. Get tips, tricks and suggestions as you use Windows. This is obviously going to be to do with pop-ups and adverts and things like that. Next, suggested ways I can finish setting up my device to get the most out of Windows. Turn that off and show me the Windows welcome experience after updates and occasionally when I sign in, to highlight what's new and suggested. We definitely don't want those. And if you want to turn notifications off altogether, you can do by just toggling this off like so. But I like to turn them off first and then you can toggle these off whenever you see fit. That's how I deal with the adverts that are pushed on you through notifications. Next up, we're going to deal with ads inside your settings. So let's go ahead and go to privacy here in settings. And in general here, this is where you're going to get some options like show me suggested content in the settings app. This is going to be adverts. You can turn that off like so and you should be good to go. Now I normally turn all of these off anyway, but you can turn off whatever you like, but the one you want to turn off is show me suggested content in settings app, and that will stop the adverts from being pushed on you via this method here. After we've done that, we need to turn off the hide ads in the File Explorer like we did in Windows 11. So open up File Explorer here, and inside here you need to go to where it says View, and then we can go to Options and then click on Change Folder and Search Options here. Just going to change this to this PC and then go to View, and then what we want to do is come all the way down here and look for this one right here, show sync provider notifications. We don't want to be notified of that either because that's adverts. So we definitely want to get rid of that. Okay, so we're done inside the File Explorer here. And what we want to do is move on to the next one, which is avoid lock screen ads. And these are for your lock screen. So go back into your settings panel here. And once you're inside here, we want to go to personalization and then go to lock screen. And you'll see it's set to Windows Spotlight for our background image. And it's been known that Microsoft push full screen advertisements via this method. So if you want to not receive those, then you want to change this to either your own image or you can change it to picture or slideshow or something like that. And that's a much safer option. But if you're okay with that level of advertisement, then you can leave it on Windows Spotlight for having obviously different images. It's entirely up to you, but I personally prefer slideshow on myself and have my own images changing. Also get fun facts, tips and more from Windows and Cortana. And that's definitely one you want to turn off. Now you don't have to turn anything off in the search panel here like you do in Windows 11 because it's not on Windows 10. But we can move on to the next option here. And there's a bunch of other settings inside here, which I'll show you how to do, like this one right here, diagnostic and feedback. You definitely want to set the feedback to never because obviously it's going to be sending information back to Microsoft. So you definitely want to set this to never right here. But I'll show you how to deal with some of this stuff in Group Policy Editor as well, just so you can turn a lot of this stuff off and alleviate a lot of that system resources. Next, go to your taskbar settings by right-clicking on the taskbar and open up taskbar settings. And inside here, you can deal with the news. If you want to get rid of the show news and interests on the taskbar, you can get rid of that by toggling that off right there. And that should deal with that right there for you. If you like using that feature, by all means, you can leave it on. I personally don't like it, and I turn all the widgets off because they just take up a lot of system resources that you don't really need to use on those things. So What I'll do is I'll toggle that off down on the taskbar as well, down on the bottom right in a second. But first off, let's go to the next stage of turning a lot of stuff off on Windows 10 to make it better and more usable for yourself. Next, you want to uninstall all of the unnecessary apps that are forced on you by Microsoft, and you can basically just right-click and uninstall a lot of this stuff. But I'll show you another method to do this using Revo Uninstaller. But some of this stuff you won't be able to uninstall, but you can do with Revo Uninstaller. So just right-click and uninstall or unpin any of the stuff that you don't want on your system anymore. And this will allow you to free up a lot of space on your menu or your start menu and put in the stuff that you want rather than being forced to use or see the stuff that Microsoft wants you to see. I won't bore you with the whole process here because it's laborious and takes a long time. But you can generally get the idea and go down the list on the left hand side as well and remove stuff that you don't want to use down here. Anything you're not using, uninstall. Next up, download Revo Uninstaller Portable. It's a free application and you can go ahead and use the uninstaller feature to uninstall all of the apps that you don't want, like Microsoft OneDrive and a bunch of other apps that are built into Windows that you might have had trouble deleting. So we're going to select all these and delete. And that's as easy as that. We can select all this stuff and delete this as well and say yes and delete all those as well. Now just work your way through the list and uninstall all of the stuff you don't want. There's quite a bit of bloat in here and I don't use Cortana, so you can uninstall it here by using the uninstaller as well. And once you've made one system restore point, you don't need to keep making them. But generally just go through the list and uninstall them like I'm showing you here. Hit scan, select all, and then delete all of the leftovers that are left behind. And there's quite a few like Feedback Hub, Get Help, and a bunch of other stuff like Maps, I Don't Like People, Skype, and also Tips and things like that. So just go all the way through the list, and I won't bore you with all of it, but there you go. That's all that I've got left on this system. There's hardly anything here now, but if you want to remove Xbox, you can do, but some people like to use that and leave it on the system. But again, that's basically using Revo Uninstaller to remove all of your apps. Now, inside Microsoft Edge, you do have advertisements, and there's also a load of other stuff and bloat that comes with the browser. It is quite a good browser, but if you turn a lot of this stuff off, you'll find it's not so heavy on the system. And I'm just going to turn the background image off. You can use your own image or use image of the day, but I'm going to turn that off and leave it like so. And basically turn off the weather because obviously this is geolocating you as well. If you want to use the weather, by all means do so. But we're going to go ahead and leave that as is like that. And next we're going to remove this sidebar here. So to do that, we can go into settings. Inside the settings here, we can start to take some of this stuff off. So go down to the bottom right hand side where there's a little cog here. And what we need to do is click on this and it says always show sidebar. We can remove that if you don't want it. And next we can take away some of the adverts that are inside here as well on Windows 10. So let's go down to privacy, search and settings. I'm going to put that on strict. And again, we're going to come down a little bit more on the list. And you can see here, send do not track request. And let's do that as well. And of course, we want to also come through here. And there's a few more little areas that we can deal with here, but I'm just going to deal with the actual services part. So let's go down to the services here. And there should be an area right down here where it says, let me see where that's gone. It's down the bottom here somewhere. There it is. Okay, so get notifications that are related to things that you can explore with Discover. And we also have here suggestive similar sites. The websites can be found. And there's a bunch of other stuff on here that you might want to turn off as well. But yeah, that's the ones you want to turn off there. So basically, once you're inside here, go back into your settings, inside privacy, and we're going to deal with all of this stuff here in the group policy. You will need Windows 10 Pro and above to be able to use group policy. If not, you have to use the registry. And if you don't know how to do it inside the registry, then let me know in the comments and I'll make a video for you for Windows 10 Home that can be tweaked inside the registry so it looks exactly like this. I did it for Windows 11. If you want to see it on Windows 10, let me know in the comments. So let's go ahead and continue. Now, theoretically, a lot of your adverts have now been turned off on Windows 10, but if you want to tidy this up a little bit more and make it a little bit more usable and remove all of the other stuff so you don't have any issues with Windows 10 later down the line, then what you can do is go into Group Policy Editor and open it up, and I'll show you quickly how we can go about doing this inside here. And this makes it a lot easier. And once you've saved all your settings, when you do Windows updates, it will not reset them because these are group policies that we've got set in place. And you can export these and import them whenever you format your PC. So first off, let's deal with the privacy, the app privacy here. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff here. I'm not going to go through all of these. I'll do one or two of these and then I'll just quickly do them and you can see, because I've made videos on this before. If you want to see a full video on Windows 10 group policy, then let me also know in the comments section and I'll do my best to make those videos for you. This is going to be a sort of quick down and dirty version to speed this up. So you want to put this on enable and you want to put it on false deny. And I've done all of these, as you can see here, apart from the microphone. But if you want your camera, you want to definitely leave the camera on. So if you do streaming and stuff, you definitely want to leave your camera alone. I've got this disabled because I'm not using camera on here, but you would change this to not configured and it will be perfectly fine. So the only one I've left is your microphone. All the rest are false deny and they will not be used at all. And they'll be blocked off. Next up, cloud content. Again, you can go through here and enable or disable these. Read the information inside the little box here. It will tell you exactly what you need to do if you don't want to enable this feature. And it will sometimes tell you to enable or disable depending on what the actual message tells you here. So you can see here, if you read through this, it's telling you if we enable this feature, that feature will not be available to people and it will be disabled on your system. So just work your way through a lot of these. Now there's quite a bit to do here, but once you've done it, you don't have to keep doing this. So once you set this up once, you can export all of your settings. And if you ever have to reinstall Windows, you just import them and they'll all be in place. And you won't have to go through this palaver every single time you install Windows. And this actually lightens the load of Windows 10 and makes it much more usable, especially for people that are on older systems. It will, remove a lot of the processes right down to around about 60 or something like that once you run some other tweaks. So let's take a look here. I'm going to go through here and tweak some of these settings here, like maps, turn off a lot of this stuff because I don't use it. And also it will stop maps being downloaded and it will also stop them from being updated because I don't use the maps feature on there. Now there's other things on here. Like I said, if you want to see a full video on this, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because it will take at least a good 45 minutes to go through the whole thing. And if you want to see that full-length video, then let me know. You can always watch my Windows 11 video. Some of those will be relevant for Windows 10 as well. And I've done a complete ultimate guide on that as well. So what we're going to do is move on down through here. I'll show you the most important ones, which are to do with advertisements and telemetry and privacy. I'll show you these. Turn off file history. If you don't use file history, you can disable that feature. And we're going to come on down here a little bit more. And there's a bunch of them inside here, like the Windows Customer Experience Improvement Program. You can disable all of this stuff here. There's quite a few of this sort of telemetry sort of stuff where they harvest and get all your data and send it back to Microsoft for them to analyze. If you don't want to get involved in any of this stuff, you can disable a lot of these features inside here. So let's take care of that. And then we can go to Computer Configuration, Administrative Templates, and then go Windows Components. And inside here, we want to go to Application Compatibility. And you will see a telemetry one here where it says turn off Applications Telemetry. And you can see here, turn off Applications Telemetry by selecting Enable will stop the collection of users' usage data. And that's exactly what you want to do there. So you want to enable that feature to disable basically them harvesting your data. And there is a few of these in here, like Step Recorder. Some people get a bit paranoid about that. They might think that Microsoft are recording all of their steps. So if that is the case, then you can disable this feature by enabling it. And again, that's going to be removed from Windows anyway. But again, if you do feel that paranoid about it, you can just basically turn that feature off. Turn off Inventory Collector. And again, it says it right there on the tin. So you can just work that one out for yourself, enable, and we can turn that off. So that's dealing with the application compatibility here. And we've dealt with those. Next up, we can go down here to another area on here and disable some of these other features. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do here is go back inside here, and we're going to come down here to search. And there is a bunch of stuff inside search that you can mess around with. I'm not going to bore you with that one, but you can see here Cortana. Let's just quickly deal with these ones then before we move on. So I'm going to disable a bunch of these Cortana ones. Now Cortana, I'm not sure on Windows 10 whether it's going to allow you to uninstall Cortana completely, because they're now using Copilot. But if they can, then uninstall it. That's definitely, I have uninstalled it from the system, but obviously it's probably hard coded into the actual operating system. So it's always best to come in here and turn a lot of this stuff off by disabling it. That's probably your best bet, just to make sure that it's off. And we'll go for Cortana search as well. We'll disable all of the Cortana stuff. Okay, so let's move on to another area. So we're going to go into Windows Components here, and we're going to go to Data Collection and also Preview Builds and Allow Telemetry. We definitely want to turn that off because we don't want telemetry to be running on the system. So what we can do here is enable the feature itself, and then we can change the setting here. And so we're going to go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and enable it. Now you can read through the information here. It will tell you exactly what you need to do here. So inside here, you can see it says security, enterprise only, but there is some other options. That's 0. We want to set that to 0 and turn that off. So that is the actual telemetry side. Let's move on to advertising ID. We can turn that off as well by going into system here, and we'll come down inside here, and we're looking for user profiles, and you can see turn off the advertising ID. So we definitely want to do that because we don't want that going on. That's for your advertising. So we're going to enable that feature, and this will mean that that setting will be turned off if we enable it. So that's now done. So I'm not going to go through the whole process in this video because the video is getting on a little bit too long right now, and people will probably stop watching. So what we'll do is we'll cover that in another video if people want to see the whole full length from start to finish, and we'll make a full video, and it'll probably end up being nearly an hour long. But once that's all done, you should have a much lighter system with less bloat on it, because obviously we've turned a lot of this stuff off. Now also there's other options which you can use, which are scripts and stuff, and I'll show you that quickly. But basically you can see our start menu is already now looking nice and clean. And once you've rebooted the system, if you go into your privacy settings, you're going to see a lot of settings have now say some of your settings are hidden or managed by your organization. This means they've been physically turned off or hidden, and they will not be harvesting data, and it won't be sending it back to Microsoft. It also is going to alleviate a lot of system resources that are being used by a lot of these background apps. As you can see here, background apps is also turned off, and it will not be running. So app diagnostics and all that sort of stuff is all been turned off inside the group policy. And this is a much better way of using your computer, because obviously if you're using an older system with older hardware, you definitely want to sort of save some of those system resources. So storage sense is turned off, projecting to this PC is all turned off. All that stuff has been turned off. Now what I'm going to do here is run a script on here, batch file, and this is my own batch file. I created it myself, but if you want to run other batch files on here, you can do, which will make the system a lot lighter. And again, let me just quickly run this on the system. And once this is done, I'll restart the system, and you should see a massive difference in system resource usage and things like that. So let me go ahead and open up Task Manager here after running my batch file. And again, we can see it's already at 48, 49, 50. Should get around about 60 odd processes running on here once it fully loads in. And again, it's now starting to stabilize, and there we go, 61 to 60 processes running on that system. And again, we look at the memory here, and this is just basically tweaking the system and running a batch file to make that system a lot more lightweight. And again, if you're running this with an older computer, it's going to make that computer a lot better. And also if you're playing games online, you're going to get less problems with gaming as well, especially on older computers. Modern day computers, it's not so much of a big deal, but on older computers, it will definitely make a massive difference to you. And we're not talking about FPS boosts and all this sort of stuff. We're just talking about making the system a little bit more easier to maintain and run on that older hardware. and it will use less CPU and less system resources. Anyway, with that said, I hope this video has been some sort of use to you. My name has been Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. I shall catch you in the next video, or I'll see you on the Discord server for a chat.